running the show. Marissa is the mod, we have nice mods too. Jamima gets the docs, don't you know? They're the ones yelling at Baker all day. Yelling at Baker all day. Hey, hey, hey. Yelling at Baker all day. Hey, hey, hey. Yelling at Baker all day. Hey, hey, hey. Making sure he hears what they say. Jamie leads with power every day. Marissa keeps the order, come what may. Jamima brings the files without delay. This strong team is here to stay. Yelling at Baker all day. Hey, hey, hey. Yelling at Baker all day. Hey, hey, hey. Yelling at Baker all day. Hey, hey, hey. Jamie, Marissa, Jamima, we have nice mods too. They're the ones yelling at Baker all day. Yelling at Baker all day. Hey, hey, hey. Yelling at Baker all day. Hey, hey, hey. Yelling at Baker all day. Hey, hey, hey. Jamie, Marissa, Jamima, we have nice mods too. Yeah!
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, whoever you are, what if any you are. Mo, we are on closing arguments. This is a cop-on-cop trial. What has been missing in this trial when it is a cop who is accused? What do we normally see in the courtroom if a cop is on the stand?
Well, we normally see a lot of police supporting the police officer, like the band of brothers.
Good news.
Oh,
According to Aidan Carney and Jess Machado, at least 20 cops have joined today in support of the Commonwealth. So they're there to hope she gets tried so Noonan doesn't get in trouble.
are they gonna join a Barabbas, hangout too? Like that Jesus guy. We don't like him. Give us Barabbas. Are they gonna join a Pontius Pilate rendition choir as well? What the heck?
I'm just, what's fucking wrong with Massachusetts?
So I've narrowed it down to a Hellmouth, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, or something to do with supernatural, because I think they're still making seasons.
Could it be that they didn't burn enough in Salem?
They haven't tried the cat bucket. I mean, we could paint it like y'all do now. We haven't tried the cat bucket.
I think Massachusetts is so lost, they need the live cat bucket. Well,
What about a Furby?
a furry?
No,
Can we
a
settle on a
Furby.
furry?
If we
Oh, can we settle on a furry?
sacrificed,
A red-headed furry. A red-headed furry. I'll make compromises. I'll make compromises all day.
okay, we will have our people talk to your people, and we will figure it out.
We'll figure out the size of the barrel, the size of the bats you need.
Because this is science.
It's yeah. It's the witch trials. I'm convinced it's a curse. Yes, something is wrong in Massachusetts.
Yeah, and I think the sad part is that, unfortunately, this is just one battle. Kelsey still has to go to probate court to get time with her son back, and I hope that we continue to stick with her and help support her, because that's going to be another long road. I mean, this is just one little bit.
I'm with you on this one, because this is the easy case. This is gonna end up in, knock on wood, 7-9-13, as we say in Denmark, with a suspended sentence, time served. Boom. Gonna be out of here. Yes, you will have a felon on your record. But that's not the worst part. He hasn't seen her son for almost a year. And she will go to family court where they will drag out every single little thing that she has ever. That time where she yelled at him for not putting the toilet seat down. That time where he might have partook in the same party activities that he partook in. All of that will be in family court. And the good thing about this, not to disparage any of the Free Karen Reed people, because they did a really big job in the 3 years that went on. There's not really that animosity that kind of grew between some creators where I want to be the real Kelsey Fitzsimmons trial channel. So I think that there will still be a big big following. Masa will most likely, I haven't talked to him about it, of course, but he will most likely keep doing what he's doing. And I'm invited on with Common Sense later today, and I'll probably bring it up at that point as well. Getting this all completed and allowing the family court process to start is the best part of this. Exactly.
Yeah, and my only worry is that I'm going to butcher the alien family seems uniquely unable to follow rules, and I do worry that they have no limiting factor. It does worry me that I think they see the writing on the wall, how badly this is going for them, and that does worry me because at the bottom line, there's a child involved who should be the most important thing.
And that's the thing they don't do. They don't think about the child. We have the rule in Denmark. Every rule must be based on the good of the child. And as I read the Massachusetts, that's the same. But then you have a family who has a weird connection to everything. And now we go to family court. Hopefully, some of the people up there who does the YouTubes and stuff like that can start and look a little bit into what's going on. Because we haven't really gotten, that's what we got in the Karen Reed stuff. We found out everything about the McAlberts.
And I think this is a perfect job for people that are good at that, the independent journalists, to see those kind of hidden connections that, aren't always, admissible in court, but then things start to make more sense.
Yeah. And again, we can talk about it online and we can raise awareness. It sounds so, hey, I'm woke. But no, you can raise awareness about this trial. I saw, again, not to be political or anything, but the Megyn Kelly network was coming in on it. I know she's a former commentator for Fox, I believe. Not sure. But she has like a big online news network, and they are talking about it now. And the more eyes you can get on it, because when I started watching this, it was me, Masa, Tryford, and Aiden he talked about it, but said, I can't do anything. It's my lawyer. So I don't want to be conflict of interest and put him in a bad place, because Aiden comes with a lot of goods, but there's a lot of idiots swimming in the slipstream of the shark. And he knew that, and he said, no, I'm not. I'm going to step back. And I think that has really made it possible to raise a lot of positive energy around Kelsey as well. And now he's covering it when we are in court, and I think that's also very helpful. But him being selfless and say, no, I'm not going to go in here, because again, he could have made his money on it and said, yeah, well, fuck her, I'm going to make my money. But he said, no, this could be a problem for her, so I'm stepping back. And I think that has, we were few, but we were there. And then it kind of, because we all look, what do the other do? And then Defense Diaries and Rungel and all of these people, Justice Serve, have been there for the longest time as well. They are like, okay, let's do this. And now, when we were talking the day before, we were like, where do we get it? NBC 10, I can't do that. It's geologged. And then the same day, Law and Crime and Court TV is on it, and I think we can roll the ball there.
Yeah,
there.
and I appreciate. Oh, go ahead.
Love the shirt. Been waiting to see you wear this beauty. I've had it on quite a few times. It's Jamie's favorite shirt, the Ohio State.
Well, and I love that there's creators like you that are like, hey, you want to check out this case because you know it's something I'd be interested in. And you don't have, like a gatekeeper. I like that, I can help support. And the chat you've been so knowledgeable and the chat's been so knowledgeable that, it's been nice to be able to help, even though I don't know a whole lot and you guys can fill me in. So that's been really good.
Yeah. And I'm not unique or anything. Everyone was like, "Oh, you're so nice. You're sharing all of it." No, we get eyes on it. More eyes, all the eyes. And I think a lot of people and people have been so generous with their time to go on Masa. Melanie Little has been there, and really, she has a massive audience, and she's dragging people in. I like when YouTube is like that. You and I have been here for 4 years now. We have seen when YouTube is not like that.
Yeah.
We have felt when YouTube is not like that. And it's not always fun.
No, and I'm glad that I can be there for a mom, because I had people that were there for a really dark time in my life when I was a mom and needed help, and in a very far back way, I'm glad that I can support.
Yeah, and it's again, that's by the way, everyone go over and love, like, and subscribe to Mo as well, because
Thank
Mo
you
is
very much.
criminally undersubscribed. If you need someone to listen to in the morning, she does the news with her personal take, not to try and tell you what you should think, but that's how she sees them. And some days it'll be about kittens, some days it'll be about combat.
Yeah, I find the stories that aren't front page news.
Yeah, Mo is very, very funny. That's why I found Mo in the first. Well, Mo was coming around, but I found out that Mo was fun to stream with because Mo is funny, Mo is fast, and that's really that's what you need on YouTube. Thank you, OF.
Thank you.
All Judge McCarthy Newman did was enrage people to keep their eyes on the case. Her plan totally backfired. That fired up lots of law tubers. Yes, that's where the shift happened. When she was put back in prison for just asking for a modified bail condition, you could visibly tell, okay, this is wrong, because that's injustice. And we're law tubers light. We don't know the law, and we're led by, this looks interesting or this looks wrong. But the law tubers who has a real law degree and who knows the law, a lot of them, like the Motas or Justice Served, Melanie, you can feel when they get indignant about something. They go into fight mode when they see the law being used wrong.
Yeah, and it definitely, I try not to get emotionally invested in the cases because we do so many that my stomach would constantly be in knots. But I've been up since 4 this morning, just like, okay, we're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And this is exactly why I don't do that.
I'm getting sleep. Yeah, I'm getting tons of sleep. I did my show this morning, and then I went to the gym and did 45 minutes on the walking pad, and then went home and I've slept till half an hour ago. I need to get back on summertime, getting up at 4 a.m. in the morning, because I then woke up at 2:30, and then I was just, okay, I'm up. And I was like, okay, go live and but then the expert was live. And I won't take viewers away from him. So I was just hanging out for a couple of hours. Did you see, I think it was the second trial of Sandra Vander Ark?
Yes, I saw that she had a hearing to petition for a retrial. I will be covering that. I just have to, I wanted to get through this and then be able to focus on that.
Yes, and go follow Mo on Rumble too. We're trying to get her a little traction over there. Rumble is not good to small creators, but
I'm growing steadily. I have $7.
well, I have 3 viewers. Well, 2. I'm one of them.
Me too.
That's we're cleaning up on Rumble. Well, even Nick Ricada was, hey Rumble, can you put us on the front page, please, at some point? Because unless you are their political analysts or you are a gaming channel, it's not really for you.
Yeah, I don't know where exactly to put my thing, so it's always like entertainment, true crime, but it's more of a comedy news. But one
It's
day
not
I'm just gonna
political.
put Grand Theft Auto 8 on there and see if anyone notice.
Jake Hanna, heaps of love from Western Australia. Sorry, you don't have to be sorry. Thank you for joining us, Jake. Even though it's almost bedtime for you. I don't know if they switch over for summertime like you do, or else that's if they
Yeah,
do.
I
He's
don't know.
7 hours ahead of me, or else he's 8 hours ahead of me. So that'll be 10 o'clock. Is that weed at your house, or is it in?
Yes, I have my windows open because it's nice out. It's actually warm, which is fueling thunderstorms.
Yeah. Hey, never ever say sorry because you have a real life. It's me who has no life. But every time you're here, it's a joyous occasion. Our time change will be this Saturday, Sunday. So I'll be 9 p.m. there. I got it almost right. No, I'll be back in the normal. Right now, I'm just feeling like I have the worst case of jet lag, because you have that hour and you're still trying to fit the normal holes. It snowed
Yeah.
in Germany an hour ago. It's sunny out. Yeah.
My favorite candy bar is from Germany. They have a Ritter's bar with marzipan and dark chocolate.
I'm not a fan of dark chocolate. They have one with strawberry and cream. That's a good one.
I also like their cornflake one. Why are the Germans so good at candy? Chocolate candy, except for sweet. Well, then Lindt and sweet. Look, the continent has really good candy.
It's because we put you put something in your chocolate to kind of give it some umami thing, and it just tastes weird. Marissa, stop with your
Stop with your
anti-Danish.
hate speech.
Yeah. Dingsy Poo, it's really hard to get stuff to America right now. Dingsy Poo is also in Denmark. But
Oh,
she's at the border, so she can actually buy Rittersport really cheap. Well, really cheap.
oh,
Cheaper. You have a P.O. box?
yes, I do. Let me pull it up. I was trying to get my brain situated, which is not oddly possible sometimes.
I do what I want, and one day I'll get that. So hashtag no feed stuff. Kelly, you know the rules. Yeah. She's the border smuggler. Yeah, that's the good thing living where she is. She can buy cheaper. They don't have the same sales tax on food as we have in the rest of Denmark. So they'll just.
So your
over.
sales tax isn't federal; it's more like
no, I don't live in Germany. I live in Denmark.
Oh, I thought you said she did live in Denmark, but
yeah,
she lives in.
She drives over the border to Germany and gets it.
They don't
It's
search
like when
you
you
at
go
customs.
to. It's like when you live in Massachusetts and you drive to Rhode Island to buy Mentos.
Oh, that makes sense.
I have to put it in American speak. Y'all
You just
know,
have to-
like when you buy stuff down there from Delaware, because they don't got no sales tax, so you get it 8% cheaper. You can get a banjo for $1.65.
You laugh. I was making some money. I didn't smoke in college, but I had a car and would drive people over the border to Kentucky to buy cheaper cancer sticks for a fee.
Teresa, because it was kind of like, I think it was wrong. No, was it just, it was one of them. No, it was brother counsel. I have to get, normally I don't go and watch other people because I covered it, so I'm already filled with it. But I wanted to see what brother counsel's take was on it, because I thought that the no viewing was a good thing. And he said, normally, if you're a defense attorney and the judge says, hey, do you really want that viewing? That means I don't need that viewing. I'm not going to get anything different. And remember, guys and girls, he said yesterday, I'll probably be back around 2 or I'll be back at 9 in the morning. Closing arguments has nothing to do with his verdict. It's just for them to summarize it. He started writing his verdict yesterday. He already knows what he's going to find her. And he has his verdict now. I will guess he's not going to postpone this to 9 tomorrow. He'll say, be back at 2, because then everyone can be their family and everything. He has his verdict now.
That's what, when we were discussing it, that makes sense. But it doesn't calm my nerves, Baker. You're supposed to lie and make me feel good.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye.
I feel good about so far.
Justice of the Superior Court. Now sitting honors and then for the
Closing isn't evidence.
your attendance, and you shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This is under the court. Court is now open. Please be seated. Good morning.
I didn't.
March 26, 2026, 42, Lawrence.
A lot of people.
Superior Court. Calling the criminal matter, Call versus Kelsey Fitzsimmons, 2025, 77 CR 311. Scheduled today for continued jury waive trial.
They have 30 minutes time limits, and the state said more than enough. Again, this isn't a complicated matter. You don't have to, oh, this is where the bullet went, this is where everything went. It's a really not complicated case.
Good morning, our Timothy Bradle. With me is Ms. Healy, Ms. Heston, Mr. Leonard. Good morning.
Good morning. All right, so you're both ready to proceed?
Yes, sir.
All right, I don't say this for the attorneys who know this, but because the government prosecution has the burden, they go last. The defense goes first in their closing. And Mr. Bradle, you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Come on, Bradle.
May it please the court. Counsel, ladies and gentlemen. Your Honor, June 30th, 2025 was the worst day in Kelsey Fitzsimmons' life. Her whole world imploded. Her fiance betrayed her. Her baby was being taken away. She was going to lose her house, her job. It was an incredible confluence of tragedy that was visited upon her that day. That day was about her, and she decided in the midst of what you saw testified to here, she decided to end her life. Patrick Noonan, when he came back up those stairs, Your Honor, walked into a suicide in progress. That gun was nowhere near him. That gun was already pointed at Ms. Fitzsimmons' temple by Ms. Fitzsimmons. She was a couple steps into the room. Officer Noonan, a gung-ho cop, highly trained, a SWAT guy, he'd already been ginned up all afternoon by the insane, ludicrous statements of Justin Elaine. He had that in his head. He walked in, and like all of us are susceptible to, he made a mistake. He shot too quick. He reacted too quickly. And instantly, he realized that he had to adjust the narrative. And that was easy, to just add 6 words to the equation, Your Honor. He said, words to the effect, she pointed the gun at me. 6 words. What did those words do at that time period? Those words made him the victim. Those words made him the hero. And those words, most important, made him untouchable. Those words were a defense for his future, his life, his reputation, and they were conveyed to a very willing audience. His colleagues, his brothers, his family, the investigators on the case. So that's really what happened here, Your Honor, and it is a tragedy, and it is something that should not result in any further harm to Ms. Fitzsimmons. This should be over. This should be an acquittal, Your Honor. I want to talk to you about a few of the elements that I know you're going to be concerned about. So, first thing I want to talk about, Judge, is the lack of motive and the lack of intent. Because when it gets down to brass tacks, I know that you're going to look at the law, you're going to look at the credibility determinations, and you're going to make a judgment. And here, this case fails. The Commonwealth ship founders on the rocks of lack of motive and lack of intent. Let's talk about motive. Everything in life is motive. And it's ironic that, us lawyers always say, oh, you don't need to prove motive. But you really kind of did. It's might not be an element of the crime, but motive is everything in this business, Your Honor. Let's look for motive or lack of motive. Fitzsimmons and Noonan are colleagues. They have already bonded over shared tragedies, shared experiences. They were okay with each other. They were friends. Kelsey thought well of him, and she thought well of her. She knows he has a family. She knows who his family is. She's not going to harm this guy. She knows, Your Honor, that he didn't do this to her. She knows that Justin Elaine did this to her. And she's, probably most important, she's been in those shoes before, serving restraining orders. She knows she's just a messenger. She knows he's just a messenger. This was the worst moment of her life, and she wanted to end her life. And how did she want to do it? She wanted to do it alone. She didn't want to involve these officers because she knew this was a selfish act. She came in here, and ironically, the most credible evidence that came into this case, Your Honor, was from the one person that didn't have to testify. And she came in here and she chose to testify. She waived her rights and she testified. And she showed, Your Honor, that she's a moral person. She's a caring person. You'll sit down and you'll deliberate, and you'll be drawing the inevitable conclusion that Kelsey Fitzsimmons is a moral person. You have to contrast that with the callous treatment of this case from the other side. Hey, we're going to go serve an order on Kelsey Fitzsimmons. Her ex-fiancé got an order on her, on Kelsey. Let's go serve an order. The answer, sounds good. Let's go. Talks to his neighbor. Oh yeah, I'm the shooter. I'm the shooter. She's a whack job. So you have to take these credibility determinations into account. And I know you're a gentleman, but you have to get down to brass tacks on who's who here. What else shows you that she's a moral person? She doesn't want to involve these guys. She's trying to get rid of them. She says, oh, the guns are over here, so she can go where they really are. She keeps trying to give Houston and Noonan baby things to bring downstairs. She's trying to get rid of them. She's trying to get them away from her. She wants to do this on her own. She doesn't want to have some sort of situation where she gets shot by one of her colleagues and friends. It's understandable because she's a moral person. She waits for her chance. She gets to her room. There's a distraction downstairs. She doesn't know what's going on because she's focused on the job she's trying to do here. The tragic, awful thing she's trying to do to herself. That's how you know she's telling the truth, Your Honor. You saw in the room, and I'll show it to you in a minute, the chest that she got the gun from, it's a chest on the floor. It has one of those pretty substantial lids that you have to flip up to get the gun, locate the gun, pick the gun out of the 4 guns, and stand up. If Noonan was standing right there in the door frame, that would have never happened. All those events, that little series of events, he would have been able to stop it. He would have stopped it. It tells you that he's down the steps. He was interested in the distraction downstairs. He saw Kelsey folding some baby clothes, getting baby things ready. His attention, it's human nature. His attention was drawn to go back down the stairs. He walked down the stairs 2 or 3 steps, 4 steps, whatever. And Kelsey told you, straight up, that was my chance. And she took it. And she went in the chest, Exhibit 51, Your Honor, I'll show you right now. She went in that chest, flipped up that lid, got the gun, stood up. She told you again, she's a moral person. She tried to keep the gun concealed. She made the motion like this, Your Honor, where she put the gun like this and she kind of walked over here. But she didn't want the police to see her with a gun. She held the gun to her stomach area. She walked to a clear area and she put the gun to her head. And that's what I mean when I say Officer Noonan came back up the stairs, and what did he walk into? He didn't walk into some Rambo woman trying to shoot him in the face. He walked into Kelsey, who you now know a little bit from her testimony. He walked into Kelsey's room, and Kelsey had a gun to her head, and he walked into a suicide in progress room. And the man that had just been holding a baby, that she chose to hold her baby, that she chose to feed her baby, walked into her suicide in progress. The gun was nowhere near Noonan. There was no threat to Noonan. And the law says that an officer may not use deadly force on someone who is exhibiting a danger only to themselves. And that's offered to Your Honor twofold, in the sense that it shows that this was not a reasonable use of force, and it shows you that his knowledge of that statute, as he said on the stand, gives him a motive to lie. He knows that this is not a good shooting. He knows this is not a clean shooting, and that gives him a motive here, Your Honor. And like all of us, we all make mistakes. He overreacted and he shot. He had the look on his face, panicked, flustered, he shot. He had made a mistake by leaving her there, walked down the steps, a few steps, and that gave her the chance. And when he did this, he knew immediately, Your Honor, that he had to do just that. Filtered through the legal lens, Your Honor, that tells us that Kelsey had no intent. She had no intent to harm him. There's no assault here because she didn't have the intent to do so. As the fact finder, you can consider everything you said about motive, that she lacked any motive to harm this gentleman. In fact, it was the opposite. She thought well of him. She knew Justin did this to her. She had just trusted him with her baby, and she had tried several times to get these officers away from the situation. No intent to harm him, no motive driving her mindset to do so. Reasonable doubt, burden of proof, Your Honor. Where the evidence supports a reasonable and more plausible alternative, and that's shown here by Kelsey's testimony, it cannot be said that Commonwealth has proven the case beyond a reasonable doubt. There is reasonable doubt. When there are two plausible versions of what happened, that itself is reasonable doubt. The versions themselves, Your Honor, show reasonable doubt. Kelsey's version rings true. Noonan's version is all over the place. Noonan's version is contradicted by the strong consensus of everybody else in the house. Noonan portrays a couple different stories, but if you want to pick one where it's this drawn out potential gun battle, where she's backpedaling, sidestepping, tapping, racking, there's commands going on, that takes time. It takes time for me even to say it. Never mind do it. And that's belied by everything everybody else in the house says. Everyone else says, Kelsey, no, 2 shots in quick succession, bam, bam. That does not fit with what Newman said happened. So, on that alone, Your Honor, as a fact finder, I suggest that your duty is accomplished quickly, because there are 2 extremely divergent versions of this event. And Newman's version has changed itself. Newman's version is inconsistent with who you now know Kelsey is as a person. It's self-serving. And like I said, it makes him untouchable. And when you judge it against everyone in the house, he's the only one with the Rambo story. Everyone else has what Kelsey says. He walks into a suicide in progress, he sees it, he reacts, Kelsey, no, bam, bam. Brain freeze, mistake. Has to cover it up immediately. What else do we have? When you're a fact finder, you want to look for corroboration. What's the corroboration on either side of this thing? Or lack of corroboration, which is what really it is here. The big one, the big elephant in the room is that this department has no body cameras. We wouldn't even be here if they had body cameras. There's no evidence other than people's words. He said versus she said. That's oftentimes, almost all the time, not a good place to start for the Commonwealth. How many of these guys didn't do reports? What's up with that? Why didn't Trooper Strong put the body camera video on the witness he's interviewing? There's no science. The testimony of everyone else in the house shatters his narrative. Kelsey Fitzsimmons has been blessed. She should be dead 2 times over. By her own hand, by the hand of Officer Noonan.
Griffin, move the trash bag.
She's blessed. She's here today, and she has a new lease on life. Maybe that's why the investigation is what it is. And maybe that's why the story is so sloppy, because nobody expected her to be here today to tell her truth. But she is your honor. And as the fact finder, I want to respectfully ask you to consider the evidence, Consider the lack of motive, the lack of intent, the inconsistencies, the credibility contest is firmly in her camp. She came in here and she told you what happened. Unvarnished truth. And I ask you to find her not guilty. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Ritter. Comment? Yes.
Not super strong. He sometimes he leaves me underwhelmed.
It will be interesting to see if the Commonwealth is as smarmy as he's been.
Yeah, let's just put a weapon in the middle of the courtroom after we just racked the slide on that one. Okay.
Commonwealth, please be short and short.
I mean,
Yes.
You may find a
every
microphone.
piece of credible evidence in this case proves one thing, that she's guilty. All the testimony, the scientific evidence, the physical evidence, the demonstrative evidence, everything points to one conclusion: she is guilty. Even her own testimony proves she's guilty. Because it's impossible to have happened the way she said it. It is scientifically, mechanically impossible for it to happen the way she said it. Her story is that she grabbed a gun, put it to her head, pulled the trigger, and it clicked. The chamber was empty. That's what her story is. And that's what Officer Noonan's story is too. She pulled the trigger, clicked, nothing came out. There wasn't a round in the chamber. She even said, she told everybody how stupid I am. I tried to kill myself with an empty gun. But what do we know about the guns? What do we know about her gun? Because after she went to the floor, Lieutenant David picked it up, put it on the bed. Officer Noonan picked it up and put it on the table. And then Officer Ford came in the room. And what happened then? Officer Noonan said, secure that gun, make it safe. And so what did he do? He took the gun, he found that black box was safe. He made sure that was empty, he turned it over. He pulled out the magazine that you can see right here. He opened the chamber, and there was a round in the chamber. He dumped it out
Throw that on the
into
body
this
cam.
safe and put the firearm in it. And then they stood watch on that until State Trooper Bonasaur took it back in the lab. That magazine that you have in evidence contains 16 rounds. It was a 17-round capacity gun. It contained 16 rounds, plus the one that was in the chamber. 17 rounds. As we know, there are only two ways to get a bullet into the chamber. One is if there's already a bullet in the chamber, someone pulls the trigger, a bullet comes out, the casing comes out, chamber's open, the spring allows another bullet to come out. That's one way, and we know that didn't happen here. The gun didn't fire because the chamber was empty. The only way a bullet gets in this chamber, other than that way, is if someone racks the gun. She said she didn't rack the gun, but there was a bullet in the chamber. She did rack the gun. What did Officer Noonan said, she pulled the trigger. Nothing happened. She stepped back, tap racked, tried again, didn't do
According
it.
to testimony, yes.
Tap racked again, pulled it, and that's when he fired. She put a round in that chamber. That's the only way it got there. Her story can't be true. She got up on that stand and she lied to you. It's scientifically and physically impossible for her story to have happened the way she said. That's what the evidence shows. But she didn't just lie to you then. She lied again. She lied at the scene about where the guns were. And I'm not, and she admitted that, and I understand that, right? And she
Then
said
she didn't lie
she
to him, you
lied
fucking
to the
moron.
police because she decided to kill herself. But when did she say she said that? They had been to the house. They had talked to her, according to her. She now started contemplating all of the ramifications of what's going to happen to her. Because she's losing her life, her job, her son is being taken away, all of these things. And so she's going that over her head. And then minutes later, as she's walking through the house, she says, my gun's in the basement. Because that's the time she made the decision to kill herself. Later on. And we know that's a lie. We know that's a lie because what was one of the first things they asked her when they went to that house? They asked her to put the baby down, because they were concerned with the baby, told her the restraining order, what the parameters were, and asked her where your guns are. When she was still sitting on the sofa. They weren't waiting to ask that question so she was already walking around the house. No way. And what did she say there? They're in the basement. And we know she said it there before she moved around the house, which is untrue. Because her friend, Officer Houston, who was invited to her wedding, says it also. He says, Sergeant Daly asked. And then remember what he said? He said, I was in the living room, she was sitting down, and then I saw a gun case on the other sofa. And so I opened it up to see. And she said again, I already told you the guns are in the basement. Now, why at that point did she say that? We don't know. She didn't tell us, because she lied to us about why she said it later, because we know she didn't say it later. So she lied again. You can't trust her. She also lied about knowing that her mom was in the house. She was upstairs. The officer, Noonan, I think it was, Noonan heard an older woman's voice down there and said, who is that? She says, I have no idea. She doesn't know her own mother's voice, her best friend that she just talked to come to the house. And she said she didn't know whose voice it was. Another lie. She said on the stand yesterday that she didn't know Justin was in the house. And we know that's a lie too, because what happened when the three of them were upstairs? It's Noonan, it's Houston, and it's the defendant. She hears him downstairs. Houston hears him downstairs, and she says, keep him away from me. I don't want him in my house, or something to that effect. And that's when Houston went down to make sure he wasn't coming up and went to the basement. She knew he was in the house. She absolutely did, and she lied to you when she said she didn't yesterday. And you know what else she lied about? Something so simple, but it shows who she is. The restraining order. She said, the restraining order was taking my dog away. It says it. It doesn't say that. Nothing about the dog in there. I could go on about the lies, but I want to talk about the credible evidence. The credible evidence in this case. When Lieutenant Daly got a call, actually got a visit from Justin Elaine when he was in the lobby of the PD. Justin told him he got into an IA against Kelsey. And Detective Daly knew that she had been second before, that she had guns, that They were taking the child away from her for a period of time. And so what did he do? He called Officer Houston. He asked Houston to call Daly to meet up. And why did he say he did that? He said because those two are cool, calm, and collected. They don't panic. They keep things calm. That's what he said. And that's why when he called Houston, he said, can you call Daly, we gotta do this. And so he wants you to believe, defense counsel, that Pat Newman was cavalier about, oh, okay, sounds good, we haven't served a restraining order, but that's not what happened. He was mischaracterizing it, and I hope you remember, in the grand jury minutes. Because Houston had called Pat and said, hey, we gotta serve an order, can you meet me by the school? Pat said, sounds good. It wasn't until he got over there, it wasn't until Lieutenant Daly was there that they learned really what they were going to do. And they went over there. And defense counsel asked Daly, you guys were cavalier about it, you knew her, weren't worried about the guns, all this stuff. And Lieutenant Daly said, no. No. His quote was, we had an increased level of vigilance. Everyone was more on point because they did know what they were walking into. They did know. They did know that she had been sectioned before. They did know there was going to be a baby in the house. They did know that she had guns. They did know at that point that she had parked her car far away. This is all going to what they were thinking at that point. They did know all those things. And they did know Justin's concerns. He said, according to Lieutenant Daly, I'm worried she's going to kill the baby, kill herself, and kill someone else. So that's what they were thinking when they went into this house. That's the credible evidence when they went in there. And what did they do when they went in there? They sat her down, and they allowed her, or maybe they asked her, I can't remember, to go around and get some stuff for the baby, because she knew Justin was coming to get the baby. And they were in her pocket the whole time. They followed her around the house, at least two of them, while she did that. And you know that because even Officer Houston said, I was in her pocket. We went into the kitchen, and I noticed there were butcher blocks with knives on it, with knives in it. And they were concerned. There was no chance they were leaving her alone. No chance they were leaving her alone.
I think the cops.
Officer Newman. Officer Newman. All of the testimony that you heard about Officer Newman, even from the defendant, he's a gentleman, he's experienced, he is by the book, and his training and experience starting in the military, in boot camp, through security forces school, security forces squadron, with all the training he had, and Humvees and helicopters, and the SWAT team, 2 times a month training, clearing rooms, clearing buildings, hostage situations, missing persons, no-shoot scenarios, twice a month, and a 40-hour block every year. For over a decade, he did that. And he moved to Lawrence, as far as the department goes, because it was busier, and he had more experience. He was cool, calm, and collected. There's no doubt about that.
He said he was in
And to
shock.
say when they're upstairs and he walks away and leaves her alone because he heard a commotion that Officer Houston was going to attend to is a joke. It really is. Now, how do you know they were going by the book at that point? And how do you know they were villagers? Because they followed around everywhere. Because both Houston and Officer Newman said she kept handing us things and we kept putting them down. We wanted our hands free. because they were ready for whatever happened. Hopefully nothing did, but ready for whatever happened. So at some point, Houston and Noonan are upstairs, and the defendant goes into her room. And she hears Justin, and Houston goes down to keep the peace to make sure he's there. And Officer Noonan is watching her. He's watching her. And she's on one knee, and she lunges, and she disappears. And she emerges with this, pointing at him like she is trained to do. Click at his face. And what does he see next? He draws his weapon, and he says, his testimony, it kind of slowed down. The whole thing took maybe 4 seconds, maybe even 3.5 seconds. His training has kicked in. His experience has kicked in. It was a surprise to him, certainly, because she got the drop on him. And why did she do this? Who knows? Maybe he's right. Maybe she was going through him to get to Justin. Maybe she was just so upset she was going to shoot anybody in front of her. Maybe she wanted him to shoot her. We don't know because she lied about it. We don't know. But the fact is, she started to shake, she started to tremble, and she lunged for the gun that he couldn't see. And what happened after she flipped? She stepped back, and now he knows, based on his training experience and the flip, there is not a round in the chamber. He knows that, and so he doesn't shoot. According to the defendant's testimony, he had every right to shoot at that point. And you know what? He actually did. He had a right to shoot her at that point. If you point a gun at a cop and pull the trigger, they get to shoot. But he didn't. Because he was controlled and disciplined. That's the way his career went. And so she steps back, tap, crack, and tries to do it. He doesn't shoot her then. And what's he doing at this point? Kelsey, no. Kelsey, no. Because he knows the threat isn't there, really, because there still wasn't one in the chamber. Kelsey, no. Kelsey, no. He is being disciplined like we wish every police officer, every law enforcement agent in this country was. He should be applauded for his actions on that day. Tap rap again.
Yes, click, click.
Now he knows one's in the chamber.
4 seconds.
She starts to raise it, and he shoots. He shoots twice.
Misses
He
once.
stopped the threat. He stopped shooting when the threat was neutralized.
No, he stopped.
No, he
That's
didn't
not
know
all.
where the gun was.
During his cross-examination, well, you would unload it or not. He goes, no, that's not what you do. You shoot until the threat is neutralized. She was now down on the ground. But his training and experience are still taking over at this point, because what does he do? He still has his gun on her. Because the gun's still there. You can't see it. Lieutenant Daly comes in, Lieutenant Houston comes up, and what does Officer Houston say that he sees when he comes upstairs? That Officer Noonan is standing there with the gun low and ready. His training is still taking place. He's still doing what he was trained to do. The gun is put on the bed. He's calm and collected. He takes the gun and moves it away so people are safe. He's deliberate in those actions. When it's away from her, he starts to tend to her. Officer Core comes in and he asks Officer Core to make the gun safe. He's cool, calm, and collected. That's what Lieutenant Daly expected, and that's what he was. He didn't make a mistake. That's what the credible evidence shows. And what did he say to Officer Houston after? And this just goes to state of mind, I know. That she pointed the gun at me, and it clicked. And she tried to drag him away. Immediately after. This wasn't him saving his hide or protecting himself. Seconds after this happened, that's what he said. Every piece of credible evidence points to the inescapable fact that she is guilty. Every piece of physical evidence, scientific evidence, mechanical evidence, every piece of testimony from Daly to Houston to Core, even Lauren Page, the mother, even the defendant corroborates what Officer Green says. Every piece. Your Honor, I would suggest to you there is only one fair and just verdict in this case, and that is guilty. Thank you.
Moving for sidebar.
I'd like to speak to counsel anyway in sidebar for scheduling purposes.
No one should be talking, you understand?
Mo, you have 24 kids.
Yes, I do have 57 children.
How many times have you been dragged into those preschool, middle school theater productions where you have to buy that really bad pound cake and a cup of coffee for $20 to support something?
Yes, I have.
She lied, Your Honor. She lied. She lied about the dog. Hey, buddy, this is not evidence. You know, closing arguments is not evidence. Do you know when you should have impeached her on her lying? Mo, when would you have impeached her? In your closing
that would
arguments, that's
be-
not evidence.
That would
or-
be when you're on stage when he stopped halfway through, like he had a hate boner growing, and then boop, that little pill just failed him. He had all of this. You know why he didn't ask her this? Because if he got a real answer from her, he couldn't have said she's lying.
And again, if she had said, but I thought the dog was on because,
Or I was told.
or I asked Daly and he said, yeah, we need to take your dog too. Then you have to get,
Also, Baker, you're a better payer attention, and I've asked all the chats, but in true Daryl Books fashion, can anyone tell me when science took the stand?
well, at the same time Nanya entered the room. Because she went out of view. Again, you fucking idiot. He never took his eyes out of her. But she was shaking, and then she was jumping, and then she was gone, and then she had a weapon. He has to fly into that corner, open that bag, pull out the weapon. I'm not sure I can do it in view. Can you time me?
Yes.
I'm going to go on my floor, roughly the same distance. I'm going to jump to
Okay.
the corner, and then I'm going to pop up.
All right. I'm glad Baker's the one doing this. It would not be an action move. Okay. 1,000. Oh, 2-ish, 1,000, 3-ish, 4. That was 4.
And that's in the best of worlds, why I don't fumble when I open the lid up and pull out the weapon.
I was afraid I'd just seen you face plant, and I was like, don't laugh. Don't laugh, Mo. This
Just
is entrapment.
Hit the side of the cabinet. And I'll say I gave myself a rock burn because I landed on my knee. And now
I'm
I have a
sorry.
rock burn. Can we go back to the round in the chamber? Does the judge have to believe someone put one in there for Kelsey to be acquitted? No, because Marissa, do you know a funny thing? When you clear the weapon and say you found one in the chamber, you also have a full magazine where you can just do this motion. Then you have 16 in the magazine and 1 loose because it hasn't been fired.
Yeah,
He could even
I
have
mean,
taken one out of his own weapon and put in there.
if I'm the judge after that, I'm coming back in 10 minutes, not guilty. But that's because I'm me.
Yes. And again, none of this is evidence. And again, if I was the judge, I would sit up. I meet a lot of judges. We have a really cool female judge who will berate the Commonwealth if they don't produce and if they just make these statements. She will call them back because we have a lot of younger lawyers coming in having smaller cases, and she'll berate them that you never proved it. You're just relying that we believe what you're saying. No, you have to show us. He deliberately didn't ask any of the questions that would establish Kelsey as a liar. I'm not even sure that is the restraining order even offered into evidence. Else he can't go back and check if the dog is on the evidence or on the RO. And thank you, Wackhole, for the rock burn. Thank you so much.
Well, I think it's also, again, you could have had the state troopers. I know they have access to wooden dowels, or they at least are resourceful enough to find a stick. You could have shown us trajectories. You could have shown us we've done a reenactment or we've done the calculations. This is approximately where Kelsey was. At the end of this trial, I shouldn't have to wonder still where exactly Kelsey was when she fell. All the 4 ones. I also don't dry fire pointing nearish the judge.
And again, even if you dry fire, even if you checked it before, every time you just do it just for the show of it. Just, nothing in the chamber. Because that's what Noonan, the hero cop who missed 4 seconds of Narnia. Was this dude at the trial? Well, he didn't prove what he claimed that he proved because, again, he didn't ask the questions to prove that Kelsey is a liar.
Well, yeah,
it's really easy to say, hey, this is the restraining order. Can you show me where it states the dog is to be removed? Hey, are you sure you weren't in the living room when you told that lie about taking your guns away? And she would have to have said, maybe I said it. Maybe I got that wrong.
Yeah.
That would have been really helpful for the judge now.
Yeah, again, because all you've done is basically claim that you have these things, but you don't actually have these things. And that's where people get pissed off at lawyers because
While you folks are returning, the council are returning to council table, I'm just going to, we went to sidebar for 2 reasons. One was Mr. Bradel has a series of objections that he'd like to lodge about the Commonwealth's closing, which I'm going to give you an opportunity to do in open court.
Thank you.
Commonwealth in open court responding. And also I went over the schedule. So as I told council, my intention is to take as long of a period of time as I need to reach a verdict, provide the court staff and counsel with 30 minutes notice, and come out and announce my verdict, some of my reasoning here in public, and whatever time that works. In other words, if it's during our traditional lunch break, so be it. You folks will have a half-hour notice, which means that you'll be able to go and have coffee or lunch or whatever, as long as you can get back here. All right, so that's how we've worked that out. We also discussed at sidebar the fact that in a jury trial, we never provide the jurors with ammunition and a firearm, even with the trigger block. At the same time. So my intention is that Mr. Ruane, our assistant clerk, will keep possession of the ammunition, and the firearm will come back in chambers with me along with the other exhibits. When and if I need the ammunition, will be switched out. All right. Okay. Globally, have I said in open court what we discussed?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So Mr. Bradel, I'll hear you on the objections.
Yeah, give him hell.
So Judge, traditionally, we do this at sidebar, but as you mentioned, we don't have a fact finder here that we need to talk off to the side to. So in open court, I'm happy to do this. Sure. Yep, I'll go back over everything I said at sidebar, Your Honor. Judge, the first objections I have to counsel's closing argument center on ballistics issues. The first part is that counsel picked up the gun and used it 3 times. Prior to that, counsel provided what I would consider to be expert testimony on the operation of the gun. I think it exceeded the scope of what Detective Bonasaro talked about. He said that it had to be a scientific certainty that this gun was racked by Kelsey Fitzsimmons. Mischaracterizes the defense position that we're not saying necessarily that it did or didn't happen. We said that Kelsey Fitzsimmons didn't rack the firearm. And we have a completely different version of events. So no one's saying that it didn't happen. We're saying that Kelsey didn't do it. And to characterize it like, you know, that it had to be racked by Kelsey Fitzsimmons is not fair argument, and it mischaracterizes the state of the evidence. The second objection relative to ballistics, Your Honor, is that counsel was acting out. I believe it was the second time he picked up the firearm. Counsel was acting out on Noonan's story that Ms. Fitzsimmons had accessed the firearm from the chest and picked it up to point it at Noonan's face. And on Noonan's testimony, she just pulled the trigger and it clicked. Counsel's acting it out. Prior to pulling the trigger, counsel racked the firearm and then pulled the trigger. And that's not what happened on even Noonan's testimony.
I'm happy to allow you to make a record, but
Maximum of 5 years.
the fact that there's 2 different versions of what folks testified about is fair game. What the issue right now is whether the Commonwealth argued items that were not in evidence or attempted to draw inferences from items that were not in evidence. So the disagreement about the racking is just not before me.
Well, that's why I bring it up, though, Judge, because this racking issue has been brought up to the forefront, and he did something that is not part of the evidence. No one says that she racked the gun before the first shot, and that's what he did when he acted it out. So that's why it's a mischaracterization. I'll just rely on Your Honor's discretion.
But that's not what Mr. Kubatosi did, though.
I did see him rack the firearm before he fired the second shot. He did it the second time, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm having trouble understanding. Again,
it's just that when you act out the testimony, you have to do it accurately, and he didn't.
I'm going to say this in open court, and it won't be the last time I say it. Whether or not Officer Noonan exercised reasonable use of deadly force is not before me. That is not my decision.
I agree with you, and I say it on credibility.
And hold on, and whether the North Andover Police Department followed procedure in executing, serving this restraining order is not before me. Child custody is not before me. All right, visitation is not before me. What's before me is, has the Commonwealth proved beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant pointed that firearm for any perceptible amount of time at Officer Noonan? Okay, so all of this is
With
just
the
not.
intent to hurt
I
him.
offer on credibility, though, Your Honor.
Okay.
Also, the Commonwealth said that on the scene, Ms. Fitzsimmons didn't say part of her story there, so therefore she's making it up. And whenever the Commonwealth tries to argue that a defendant didn't say something, that's very dangerous ground for the Commonwealth, Your Honor, that the defendant is under no burden whatsoever to say anything, Your Honor. And here to suggest that she's lying because she didn't say part of her story when she's shot in the chest at the scene is unfair argument, but it also violates her right to remain silent. And it's an intrusion on that, so I would object to that. I ask you not to consider that, Your Honor.
Except that, Mr. Bradle, she waived her right to remain silent, right? She testified. So
At the scene, though, Judge.
Isn't it fair game for the Commonwealth to discuss the testimony that your client offered?
The testimony, yes, but he's saying that at the scene, she didn't say XYZ when she didn't have to say XYZ at the scene. And that's, the Commonwealth can only argue that when a defendant makes a comprehensive statement and leaves something out of it. You can't say that especially in her condition, that she didn't say something and therefore she's a liar. She has a right to not say anything. So that's my point on that, Judge. And then the last two more issues, Judge, is that there was a mischaracterization of the evidence where counsel stated that Justin Elaine told the officers in the lobby of the police station that Kelsey will kill someone else. He added that to the statement that you might recall, that he said he wouldn't be surprised if she didn't kill the baby right in front of them. That was the statement. He added in that she would kill someone else, which in this case is a very dangerous mischaracterization, that he's ascribing an intent to my client that she wanted to kill someone else, which didn't happen. That was not the statement. So that's a very important, very dangerous, very unfair, very prejudicial misrepresentation of what was attributed to Justin Elaine in the lobby. She never said anything about killing someone else. He didn't even he didn't say that she said that. So I ask you to strike that and not consider it. And the last thing, Judge, about lying about the dog on the restraining order, Your Honor, that trying to take her dog. And it is in the complaint to the restraining order by Justin Elaine.
I know he's trying to do a second closing, but the evidence is what the evidence is.
Yeah, but Judge, you can't say, when you have the discovery on the point, you can't say that something is a lie when you have the papers that show it's not a lie. And the box was checked in the complaint to get her dog. So that's a mischaracterization of the evidence that needs to be corrected, Your Honor. And that's my last point. Thank you.
So, Commonwealth, from my perspective, with all due respect to Mr. Brado, who's done a terrific job advocating for his client, I view that as nothing more than a rebuttal to the Commonwealth's closing. So I'll give you a few minutes to rebut these things. Let me say this, though. I don't believe that there was any evidence before me that Miss Fitzsimmons was sectioned previously. I think that the way I view the evidence is that this is what the police believed. It was part of their state of mind in serving it. But I'm at a loss, frankly, that, in other words, what I'm saying, Mr. Bradle, is out of all the items that you argued about the Commonwealth purportedly arguing something not in evidence, this sectioning, alleged sectioning that happened prior to this, there's no evidence of that before me. There's mention of it, and it goes to the officer's state of mind. So, and that's all that in fairness, that's all that you argued, Mr. Gubitosi. But I guess what I was getting at is if there was anything at all that came close, that would have been it. But Mr. Gubitosi, I'll give you a few minutes for your rebuttal to the rebuttal.
I don't think I trust you to have sifted through what's relevant, what's not relevant. The evidence is what the evidence is. Closings are not evidence. I would suggest to you that, I guess I do that I argue the evidence that came from the witness stand and from the exhibits to Rubanasaro absolutely describe the ways that firearm works and how a round gets into the chamber, and I limited my explanation of that to what he described and the like. I don't need to make a second close.
You just did that.
I'm a lawyer. What do you think about that?
I respect that, both sides. All right, so at this point, why don't we, I said that I was going to step off for the gathering of the evidence. Let me not do that. I'd like the counsel to just make sure that all the evidence, the exhibits are in order. You'll note your content on both sides. If you folks can take a look at the verdict form as well, I don't know if you already have, It's not complicated, but you want, Mr. Bale, have you seen the verdict form?
No.
All right, so one of you, officer, do you mind? Officer.
Jen.
Commonwealth is consented to that.
Same time.
All right, content with the verdict form, but we're still working on the exhibit.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you, tortious interference. Alert to where a car is parked, but not to where the unpredictable whack job or the pew-pews were. Yeah, that's my problem as well. She's just a grim reaper, this lady.
Yeah, she doesn't look like she's ever smiled.
Oh, my children was born today. This is the happiest day in my life. I think she's Scandinavian.
What else was about the availability of the support group this afternoon, so check them out.
I saw Chuck Norris's bodyguard has been out and talked about how cool he always was and how nice. A lot of people took it as it was Chuck Norris's bodyguard, but actually it was just every time someone tried to fight Chuck Norris, this guy would help them. So Chuck Norris would at least get some sweat.
ADA Gupatosi on behalf of the Commonwealth, is the Commonwealth content with the exhibits?
Yes.
Attorney Bradel on behalf of the defendant, is the defendant content with the exhibits?
Yes.
And then it would be for both of you, exhibits number 1 through 98.
Correct.
Correct?
Yes.
Plus the chalk, Mr. President.
Yes, and the jury instruction.
Thank you.
Yes.
98, I thought we had, what were there, 100 exhibits?
No, 98.
Okay. I'm sorry, okay. So, in Mr. Wayne, I think it makes sense as a jury trial for you to swear our court officer.
I don't like the theatrics of this. Let's go back to your chambers. Get the form you pre-filled and come back.
All raise your right hands. Do you solemnly swear that you will keep the court in some convenient place until he has agreed that you will not suffer any person to speak to him, nor speak to him yourselves, unless by order of the court, or to ask him if he has agreed? And when he has agreed, you will return him into court unless the court shall otherwise order, so help you God.
We will stand at recess for live deliberation.
All right, please.
Please exit the courtroom.
Oh, she sounded nasty.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah, I wish you would just say, like, I'm going to think about this until 2, and then I'll call you guys back.
well, at least we'll get 30 minutes. So I'll set up a stream and just set an imaginary time, and we'll keep. I'll set it up
Sounds
for
good.
2 o'clock, and then if and when we will go live. But let's just talk about what just happened, because now I got the
Yes.
the way he responded to Bradel's arguments made me kind of think that he's only looking at this. Could she have done this? And then it's enough. I read the article as she needed intent to do it.
Yeah, that's how I read it, but the way he said if at any perceptible time
Yeah.
the officer could have perceived, at any point when she was moving her arm up, he could have
Yeah, she
perceived that
did
it
it
was
in this way, or when he shot her, she did well. No, that couldn't. When she took it down to rack it, she did this.
maybe. I mean, part of me feels like, again, Bradel maybe should have been quiet because I do think that the section thing, which has always struck me as odd because they've never brought it in, I I do think them continuing to bring that up without having proof that she actually was probably the only thing they could have gone because this case really is a he said, she said, so it does have to kind of go with she's a liar. Well,
Yeah. Jenny Lynn says, I can tell the judge has already made up his mind. I believe it would be not guilty. He made up his mind yesterday when he stepped out of the courtroom and he started writing his verdict yesterday when he exited the courtroom. This is not evidence. This is their summation of what the evidence shows. He is the fact finder. It's more or less just theater because if he is a good and impartial judge, you shouldn't have a closing argument because there's no need for it to summarize the case because he has all the facts. You'll
yeah,
give them
now,
the chance to summarize it, and then he can maybe say, oh, well, I need to go back and check out that part. But the entire closing argument by Gubertosi, in my opinion, if I was the judge on this, falls on she went to Narnia. She disappears for 4 seconds.
you have to hold two very, very opposing ideas at the same time for the state's argument to work. He is a super trooper who never let her out of his eyesight, and then she was a tactical, she suddenly turned into Jane Wick, who had lost her puppy, and she wasn't going to take shit no more. It,
Yeah. It makes no sense.
and how is he both, again, shocked that she's doing this and able to tactically pull his shot, then he shoots her again. Just the way he tells it doesn't make sense, but the way Kelsey tells it makes sense. I wish that Bradel had maybe stuck with that.
Yeah.
Your Honor, encourage you to go look at the testimony. Remember the notes that you took in your testimony. And when you're thinking about that testimony, think about how many times you had to stop during Officer Noonan's testimony and really figure out how any of this was possible. But in Kelsey's testimony, you didn't have to take notes. She accounted for what she did wrong. She mentioned that he had every right. This is not, I wish they had been less about Officer Noonan and the cover up, because I think had this been, this is Kelsey taking responsibility for what she did, but she will not take responsibility for what she didn't do. And the state is trying to make her take responsibility for something she categorically denies.
Yeah, a female cop with less than 2 years experience, overwhelmed cop with tactical training and decades of experience. And again, we go back to talk about Noonan. Noonan, who was calm, collected, and made the right choice, had a gun at this distance from his head. Then he made the tactical sound decision of giving her 14 more feet of distance between them. We are only going by Noonan's testimony, not what everyone else says, because he was the only one in the room who has any say in all of this. This is the distance the gun was in when it clicked. This distance. What did he do? He waited. He waited, let her rack once, waited, rack a second time, not expending a bullet, yelled, "Don't do it, Kelsey. Don't do it." Bang, bang. Or, "Don't do it, Kelsey. Bang. Don't do it, bang." One of those two scenarios. He's a superhero cop who is tactically trained. 40 weeks of training every month. Him and Captain America, they went into behind enemy lines in Germany. But at the same time, he doesn't do the instant it clicks, no matter how shocked he is, there's one and only one response that should automatically get to his little brain. Close the distance. Anyone within 20 feet of you is more dangerous with a knife than with a pistol, because you can get really stabby really fast. The only, and this would, I don't know what his SWAT training is, but I'm pretty fucking sure that his training was, if it clicks, you rust the shit, because you will have to rack it again before it's an automatic. It's not a revolver that you can just manipulate with your finger and pull the trigger again. He has to take it down, rack it, and pull it up again. Let's just say I'm not an expert. Let's time it out. Click. Even Mo with her bad legs could have been on me at that time.
Yeah, and again, the story makes sense the way Kelsey takes. You don't have to make these leaps. She doesn't have to apparate. She doesn't have to be a wizard. It makes sense. And if the Commonwealth had come at it that way, Officer Noonan trusted his friend. Kelsey lied. She admitted on stand she lied. And when he turned around, it looked like she was pointing at him. So he shot.
Yeah.
How hard would that have been to tell? That would have been an easy thing. Because again, both stories could be true if she's, pulling and racking and he sees from the stairs and he says, I pulled the first shot because I said, Kelsey, no, Kelsey, no. And,
and again, yeah, let's make your assumption correct. Kelsey goes over there. He's down on the stairs, and he should just admit saying there was some loud shouting. Justin and the mom was getting into it, so I was just for a brief second looking around. I saw her over by the boxes, and then she walked over to the window, and I heard a click, and then I saw her do a motion while turning around when I said, "Hey." She was racking the gun, and I perceived she was pulling it up to shoot at me, because it doesn't have. Apparently, she doesn't need the intent to hurt him. But let's just say, instead of doing this, he could have thought she did this.
If I had the remote here,
and she comes around like this while racking it. I came back into the room. She stood by the window, and I could see her taking her arm down. And I said, "Kelsey." She turned around, and as she turned around, I saw her rack the slide of her gun. I pulled out my weapon and said, "Kelsey, don't do it. Kelsey, don't." And when she had racked it, she continued to raise the weapon, and I fired.
Yeah.
Because he does just need to prove that he perceived a threat to him when she pointed a gun at him.
Yeah. And that's why I don't understand the argument, because I think it could have been really easy. Again, the Commonwealth is, regardless of which of these stories are correct, you still brandished a weapon in front of a police officer. Yes. That's the base story. We don't have to call her a liar. You did it. Done.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that. And Noonan's story gets too convoluted because he puts in Narnia. Narnia is the big problem. Again, I had my eyes on her constantly, but she hides behind the wall you can't get behind because there's a big old box filled with weapons that he never checked. And again, it's not about all the mistakes that was made in this case. But he said he's such a hero cop that he knows how to handle a crime scene. He walked into a room where there are 3 weapons stored right next to the door, and he never ever just say, "Okay, wait here." Oh, fuck me, there's 3 weapons in this box. You said they were down in the basement. I'm just gonna give you some handcuffs because now we have to go all over the house and find your weapons. And why the hell did they put the shoebox on top of the green box, other than to set up the scene that Noonan? She went over. Another thing, Noonan is standing over there and by the door, and she walks around in the room, and she goes over there and she just reaches down, opens the box, and he doesn't really. He thinks she's getting some stuff. She has something in her hand to cover it up, and then she drops it, comes up with a firearm, and clicks in her face from that box that was on top. That she didn't need to go all the way down and didn't have to get it out of a gun safe, because remember, they took the black box that was for her gun safe. Was that closed? So you have to open the box, then you have to open the gun safe and retrieve the firearm. That just adds seconds that Noonan didn't look. Noonan going halfway down the stairs to see, is anything coming up again? Kelsey standing over by the window with her. I can make the time zones fit. I can never make Narnia fit into the story.
No, and that's the problem. When you have lived with someone like this who used to work on a security force, who tends to be that observant person, you can tell that he wasn't paying attention. He should have never let her hands leave his line of sight.
Yeah.
Why were the weapons not secured? Again, how many times do they take criminals' words for it? The devil's lettuce isn't mine.
Winterbuck has a great question. Hey, Justin. We're going to go into this house where you told us she's going to use Yosemite Sam the house when we get in there. Where does she store her weapons? Well, there's a gun safe in the kids' room. There's a kind of like a lockbox that she has in her bedroom where she has her service weapon. And there's a gun safe in the basement, but I emptied that yesterday. Okay, thank you. Hey, Kelsey, we need to get your weapons. Instead of getting diapers and formula, take us up to the gun safe. Open the gun safe. Give us your weapons. We know there's a lockbox in your bedroom. Open that. Oh, thank you so much. Now you can get the formula. Now you can get all the shit.
Also, are we still counting wrong? Because that's 4 hand force multipliers. If there were 3 that continued to be in the chest, the one they secured from Kelsey.
There was 2. There was a baby. That's 3 6 hours. 3 6 hours in the chest, and she had a Glock.
Okay. Which is confused because how did we not account for that?
Well, that's what super cops do. They surveil the scene and they say, okay, there's a lot of weapons in here. Let me just stand like this. Because they know how to secure a scene. Yeah, really easy. Give her some handcuffs. Again, he can't be Mr. Perfect and be the worst cop in the world.
No, but let's not bring Hudson in like or Houston. I always want to call him Hudson. Houston in like he is. That man's most excited moment, he looks like Baker right now. That man was barely alive. I was going to put a mirror under his nose. He's like, yeah, we served a search warrant.
He did I think his wife had made him do the tap, so he's alive still. He's just sitting at the kitchen table. Just so she knows that he's still breathing.
He's the soul of the party. He was invited to her wedding.
Why do we have him here? Yeah, well, then the family won't be the most boring people.
I do kind of want the backstory about what happened at the bridal party, because y'all know it's probably the dumbest, stupidest thing ever.
Justin didn't want to get married. Justin didn't want to be a dad. Justin Justin probably wanted to finger bang one of the bridesmaids. Justin wanted to get high and just sit in a room and do Adderall with his brother. Justin didn't want the bridal party. Justin said, fuck this, I'm out. And then he figured out, oh shit, I'm going to live with this crazy for the rest of my life. No, I don't want to do that. And I think
Sounds about right.
Courtney probably didn't like Kelsey that much, and then she started a fight.
Yeah, girls don't tend to like girls that are prettier than them. And that's not beef, that's not shots fired, that is just observation, symmetry, and geometry, ma'am. I'm sorry. But yeah, especially if you're a certain type of woman, you don't tend to like women who are doing things with their lives.
Courtney was how old? Living at home with mom and dad, no boyfriend, no girlfriend, no kids. And then you have this Hottie McHottie coming in. They date for half a year, then she gets pregnant. Now they're going to get married. I'm not saying women, but some women don't like that.
Yeah, which is a pity because, strong women are awesome.
We just had our national election. They're like, 48% only is female. When are we going to get equality? Well, it doesn't matter if you have dangly bits or not. It matters how great a politician you are.
I know. Can we stop? I am just speaking for me, but I would like to be spoken to as a responsible, intelligent human being. I would like politicians of each side and flavor to not address me as my uterus. Thank you.
I think that could be a cool name, Miss Uterus.
Ooh. Side channel. All
That's
the uterus
your
talk all
new
the
channel
time.
where you're going to talk about makeup, childbirth.
Fallopian fab. Fallopian fab on a budget, Baker. I'm here. You've been trying to get this budget beauty thing going.
Every Saturday, we will be discussing periods. Are they your friend or your enemy? You hate to have them, but you hate to miss them. I think in the end, she's not a good drunk. Neither is my husband. He just doesn't drink. Hey, is Kelsey perfect? No. Kelsey is a typical hottie girl. She falls for the wrong guy. Like every other woman, she was about to get married with the wrong man. Every woman in history has married the wrong man. It's just how biology is. Your wife will tell you that she made a mistake. But that has nothing to do with this. This is all about Justin didn't want the responsibility, and his mom told him, you get me that baby. Fucking get me that baby. That little trash panda is not going to have my baby.
Yeah, and this is where I do worry because with their pattern, with that family's pattern of behavior, this flouting of the rules, the rules don't apply, and they've shown their behinds, multiple times. This is not the end. So I do hope if you guys are supporting Kelsey, remember, we still have to go to probate court. We still have to get that baby, and there are going to be hoops. I mean, unfortunately, regardless of the verdict today, there is still another fight gearing up legally, not really.
I'm guessing that was the first time Kelsey was being drunk in a long time. Yeah, she's 4 months out of pregnancy. We don't know if she's breastfeeding. I don't think we have ever heard any confirmation. But again, if she's pumping and dumping, she's probably not drinking. If she had been postpartum and taking care of baby, she's probably not drinking. This is probably her first night without the baby.
Yeah.
And then she will, I can kind of guess, been going through this twice. She would have been, oh yes, I don't have my baby. 2 minutes after she just said those words, she was texting her mom, how's the baby doing? And then her girlfriends came over and said, hey, Kels, let's go and be high schoolers. Yeah, let's drink. I'm going to put on my bikini. We're going to jump in the pool. 10 minutes later, mom, can just send a video. I just
Yeah.
I'll have a Michelob Light in a second. I just need, okay, he's sleeping still. And then she got a little bit drunk, and then she started doing I wish my baby was here. And I think that she probably wasn't in a stable emotional environment that night. So if she got into a bitch fight with Courtney and Justin took her upstairs, yeah, maybe she slapped him a bit. Did the good old maybe they got into a fight. If he said, I'm leaving you. I'm done with all of this bullshit. Yeah. We don't know.
Well, and let's be real, women, we know when our partner isn't as engaged or as you know, and she probably knew there are signs. He probably wasn't helping with the baby at all, beyond anything. So it, and when you're drinking, it probably becomes more and more real. So, and imagine, because I was thinking about Kelsey imagining her baby going, as much as, the Commonwealth and the cops wanted to say it's only 2 weeks. When you know that the father is liable to get really pissed off, you have no trust that that baby's going to be changed. It's the closest I've ever come to jail is when I went to work a 12-hour shift, came home thinking my husband was watching our child or babysitting his daughter, and she had not been changed for the entire 12-hour shift. That's probably what Kelsey was thinking. And not all dads are like that, and some moms are like that. So I'm not trying to say it's a gender thing, but yeah, no.
I was taking care of my nephew when he was 5 months old. That's not that big a problem.
So
but there's a lot of things going into this. But again, all of this is, I can buy her state of mind. I can buy her feeling when you meet adversities in life. Some people act, some people despair. I've been the designated, hey, you take care of that, when both my mom passed away and my dad passed away. My dad told me, I can't handle it. I'll take care of the funeral. You'll talk to family. You'll talk to everyone. You will have to go on Facebook and show it. And I do that. And then 5 months later, in the middle of the night, I wake up and I'm pissed crying. And I'm like, what? Why did I have to react? Because action. Other people, like when my dad passed away in my arms, some people would just go into shock. My first was, okay, need action mode. I'm going to call everyone. I'm going to say this. I'm going to fix the problem. 5 months later, the day before New Year's Eve at 11:30, all of a sudden, I just started crying again. And I don't know why. Other people would have been distraught right there and couldn't act. And I think she's one of those.
yeah, and I think that's the thing. Those moments, the darkness lies to you, and it kind of it tells you that this is going to be this way forever. And it's so important. And regardless of whatever happens at the end of this trial, I do hope that, people reach out, because Kelsey, for whatever else she did, she is a good and strong reminder that darkness is a lie. Yeah, this is rough. This is tough. This is probably the toughest thing that she's ever dealt with in her life. But she has support. She is not alone. So if you do feel like that, reach out.
Kind of the only way I can, because I'm not a mom, I'm a dad, and I know, we're all the same. Absolutely not. Emotionally, we are two different species. The first time I went back I moved home to my parents after I told my wife we're going to get a divorce. And she got really bitchy. I wasn't to see the kids and blah, blah, blah. I then went over to the house to see my kids. I was with them and I enjoyed it. And it was weird because your wife's there, your mother-in-law is there. My dad had driven me over there just so I didn't have to drive home alone. And when I go down to go out, we had we had kind of like a weird house where there's a first and a second floor, but there's also like a middle little thing where the kitchen was and our dining room. And as I walked down the stairs from the first floor, I said, okay, so I'll be leaving now. My dad was down in the basement. And there was no response to that. I was like, okay, he's probably picking up the kids coming down saying goodbye. Then I walked down and I yelled up and said, oh, okay, I'm leaving now. If the kids want to say goodbye. If you want to say goodbye to your kids, you can just walk up here. I'm not bringing them down to you. When I sat in my car, my dad turned around, he looked at me and he said, whenever that little notion that, oh, well, it wasn't that bad, you just remember those words. Because I was distraught. I was crying on my ride home because why didn't we had a balcony? She could just have walked out on the balcony and had the kids. It was in the summertime. It wasn't, you could have carried the baby out and just say goodbye to daddy. I was crying in the car. And my dad said, every time you get that little voice saying, oh, let's just go back to it. Yeah, it was hell to be in, but at least you were with your kids. Just remember, this is the person that you left. She's not the person that's in your head where you're, oh, well, she's the mother of my children. Everything's fine. And because when darkness comes to you, you will go back to the guy who beat you up like shit. The guy who lives on the end of a needle, because at least he loved me.
He's the devil, you know. You know
Yeah.
that pain. You know that's scary. But the scary of being in this new place, this new moving forward where you don't know that's terrifying.
I'm not a good man. I'm a really bad person. I don't claim any status, but no. Hey, I don't care. This is the life I've lived, and if people can find any solace in it, I just say it because we all had some shitty times in our life. We all had those dark days, and I'm just hoping that me and Mo being honest about we had some really rough patches in our life. If you're sitting out there and thinking, oh, no one sees me, no one hears me, I had to reach out to people. I had to have help from mental professionals. I had to be on happy pills for a time to get over it. But I've been doing
Yeah.
fine since.
Yeah,
I've
you
been
guys, y'all see Mo in front of the camera. To be very real with you, the Mr. Mo's health scare was probably the biggest nightmare of my adult life. Losing a second husband has been something I've been terrified of since I met Mr. Mo. And you guys letting me have this space where I can, not think about that has been wonderful. But I've had moments where I've had to reach out. And as much as your words have encouraged me, there's been times where, I just need to unplug. So don't look at us on camera and think we've got it all put together. I am neither Oprah nor Jesus.
probably don't bring up Oprah. She's kind of a shitty person.
Well, fine. Well, Gumby.
Mr. Rogers. I think no one
Mr.
has ever
Rogers.
found dirt on Mr. Rogers. Or was he not a big fan of people with melatonin?
I don't know. How is Bob Ross? We haven't found out anything bad about Bob Ross, right?
He liked Volstorm.
Fair
Volstorm's a
point,
good guy.
Ballstorm.
He married a redhead. He should be canonized.
On a funny note, I got this very nice table desk to go over so I could do my crafting channel in bed with clothes on, you preverts. But apparently Mr. Mo found out that they didn't put the drill holes in, so he's now going to have to construct the table out of the parts that they didn't send him.
Oh. Mo is more like Martha Stewart. Doesn't snitch and could do time and come out bawling with Snoop.
Oh my Bob Ross, yes. We need like a Mo, because we've got Martha on the Heartha, you've got Snoop on the stoop. All I can think is Mo in the hoe, but that's the only thing that I can
Well,
find
that's
right.
for gardening.
Yeah, except that Mr. Mo's the gardener. It
Well,
works.
you can lie about that. It's the internet.
True, true.
Never craft naked. Hot glue guns are not your friend.
Yes,
That's the thing
crafting
when-
and cooking bacon.
We have caramelized potatoes is a big thing for our Christmas dinner.
Ooh.
It's good. You should try it. And I like to make them with honey and sugar. So you just melt some sugar, honey, and put some
Ooh.
butter in it, and then you'll caramelize that, and then you'll just flip your potatoes into it. But I got a call while I was making it at Christmas from my daughters, and it got a little hot. It freaking got the sugar started boiling and splatting.
Oh,
That hurts.
yeah, I've got burnt sugar. I have like a big old scar. That ish is hot.
That's like napalm. You have to cut it out of your skin. You can't just or peel it out of your skin when it goes cold.
Yeah, pretty much.
Bob Ross served in the U.S. Air Force in medical records, discharged with a rank of E7. Mr. Mo is trimming the grass, whacking the bush.
Did you see that Airbnb? I thought about you because you always remark about Sarah straddling the bush. Well, apparently in Florida, there was this woman at an Airbnb who piddled on a lot of different things. And I was like, we need to get Baker and we need to figure out how a female pees into an electric fireplace because I still haven't figured out the physics. I think she had a funnel.
Did your country's prime minister just resign? Our prime minister resigns every time that the government can't continue straight on after a new election. He has been appointed the royal investigator because in Denmark we are a constitutional monarchy. So technically it's the king who sets the government. It's purely what do you call it? It's not a well, it is a formal thing, but
It's more of a ceremonial.
It's a ceremonial thing. So she will go to the king and say, Your Highness, I have declared that there will be an election in X weeks. I think 6 weeks is the longest they can do it. And then when the election is over, if she keeps her majority, more than 50% chooses to point at her, she'll then go to the king and says, Your Royal Highness, I have been, I have a majority and I will continue my government. This time, because we have such a weird election result when no sides has the majority and there's going to be a whole lot of things, there will be a royal investigator set who then will go out and say, can I get 50% of the votes behind me? And if she can't, there will be another leader of the party rounds where every leader of the party will then recommend to the king who they believe should do the next investigation. So right now everyone is horse trading, as we call it, where they are trying to figure out how can we put 51% behind someone. And we have a very murky picture because there's a lot of parties got 10% and her party got 21%. And then there's a lot of smaller parties there's going to be a lot of horse trading going on in this. So that's how we do our elections. She is now the royal investigator who will go back and say, Your Highness, I haven't been able to find 51% of the vote, the people, so I resign as the royal investigator. And then there will be a new round and say, we think this guy or this girl.
Does the royal investigator get like a crown or something, or like a hat?
No.
Damn.
No, but she stays
I was
at the
gonna put
Marine Corps. Well, we have our official PM residence called Marienborg, where she'll stay till she's no longer the PM, I think. But it's just a ceremonial ceremonial thing where she is leading the investigation into finding a new government. And then she has to do all the horse trading, call all parties in and say, well, not all, but she will go to those because they will have their, okay, what if we take this party, this party, this party? And right now it looks like she might do a red government, but then they will have to rely on the utilitarian list, who is the former Communist Party, and on the moderates, who is a former leader of the right wing of Danish politics. And he has said, I don't want to work with them. And then how much do they need to vote for her? So that's what's going on right now. We might not have a government for months.
Yeah,
because they'll have to
that's
horse
why
trade.
when we're tempted to get out of the two-party system, and then look at a parliamentary system, that's the big drawback that I see, is that there has to be these coalitions made, and it's not. There are positives and negatives on each end. There are more choices in a parliamentary system, but there's also a lot more compromising.
But there's also not that the leader does it all. Because right now, I don't know, is Chuck Schumer the leader of the Democrats? And
Sort of.
well, yeah, well, you have two people who will talk for each party, and everyone will just do what they're told. Here you have a government consistent of three parties. They'll have to agree, and then they'll have the last one had a majority government. But this one will most likely be a minority government with the backing of other parties. So they will have to listen to them, and they can't just say, well, we have 50%, fuck you. So it's a way of kind of tempering the power. I want to know about all the Post-its. The Post-its is to remind me that I gotten a super chat, a super sticker, a new member, gifted memberships. So every time I do a stream, I walk past my wall of super chats to remind me, even though, like Mo said, not every day is perfect when you stream, but you don't need to know that I have a bad day. You need to have a good show, an entertaining and informational show. That's what it's here to remind me, that I'm lucky enough that people like what I do enough that they will support it, and I should do better.
Yeah,
Someone's
and
ringing my door.
well, and Baker, I think because when I asked him if I could kind of steal it and make it my own with little flaming notes, he said, yeah, I just, there are some streamers that get bigger, and sometimes I think forget that, we're here for you guys. And he's like, I want to remember that I'm here because of, all of you guys. He's really a great guy, and very, very humble. So he always lets me steal and put a Mo spin on, his good ideas. It's just, we're very much alike in that we always like to remind ourselves that we are very, very lucky that this is, a great job, and that we're here because of you guys.
That was Isabella from Save the Children who wanted a donation. I don't have time, Isabella. See you later. That's yeah. I cannot file the pull pops one pullback any gun slide that loads a bullet in a gun. I'm a weak ass. My ex-husband had me try numerous guns before we would found a simple revolver worked. Yeah, but the problem is, if you do this, there should be even if she says, "Oh, her hands slip." Again, this happens in 4 seconds, so she slips her hand and then she re-racks it again after doing another tap. It adds seconds that's not there.
Baker, can you do 2 taps and I'll just do 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000?
So we have to take I clicked, I'm walking backwards.
Okay. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000.
And at the same time, I'm going 15 feet backwards to the left.
Yeah, see, that's where you lose me. Again, she goes from being, shaky and can't control her hands to Do you feel lucky, punk?
Again, she's a super trained cop with all the tactical awareness and room perception and can hide. And then first of all, she dry fires. And then she goes backwards. Knows that it's not loaded because why? Well, her hand slipped. Then why would she re-tap it? Why don't she just re-rack it? That's my problem in all of this. You tell a story like Kelsey. The story goes. There's small things in it where you think, maybe not quite that way. Or you tell a story like Noonan. She went into Narnia. She came out and she said, die, MFer, die. I'm going to blast your head off and I'm going to skull F your cranium after and use the hole for that. I don't know how a woman does that. And then, she dry fires. And then she walks backward really quickly because she has to cross the room and get to the window in 4 seconds. While she's slapping the pew-pew, tries to rack it, but is such a bad cop that she doesn't rack it. And apparently, I didn't get that word. The expert was talking about her red dot side. If there's a red dot side, it's really easy to rack because you just put your hand on the red dot and push it backwards. So how does her hand slip if there's a red dot on it? I don't know if she had a red dot on it. He brought it up while we were talking before the show a couple of nights ago. But that's how you just push your hand on it and then you slide it backwards. Why did her hand slip? And why did she then go back and punch the magazine and then racked it again? That's what I'm saying. Her story made sense on a human level. His stories had a lot of coloring.
Yeah, and again, the Commonwealth could have played this so much smarter. They knew they had a sympathetic. They go in there, they don't paint Noonan as a super cop. They paint him as a cop who's seen too much, as a cop who saw the underbelly, who was coming for a slower pace. You know, he wanted to give his wisdom, but he's just seen too damn much. And here's this, other officer that he thought they had a moment. So he cut her some slack. Yeah, he regrets doing that, but he thought they were connected. And
she would never do anything to me. I just hold her baby.
Yeah.
Let me just do Holly Mac. Thank you so much, Holly Mac, for 15. Oh my. 5 memberships. Squappy, Dave Boston's Labor's Union, Laurie B., Mr. Me Too, and CE4812 were gifted memberships from the lovely Holly Mac. Thank you so much, Holly Mac. Let me tell. Let's do. I'm going to do a totally different Noonan. So, Mr. Noonan, what happened? Well, we arrived at the scene and we were at an alerted level because Justin had been there, but at the same time, I knew Kelsey. Kelsey and I had been through a very disturbing call about a year prior. I have been in a very high stress work environment while I was on the SWAT team. And I had to come down here to kind of unwind and going back into a crime scene where I saw this happen with a mother and a young child, and having my partner, or not my partner, but arriving at a crime scene where there's a 20-week pregnant woman. My paternal instinct kind of told me, you have to take care of her, because I sometimes suffer from a little bit of PTSD. And I know it's really important that you have a good supporting network. So I kind of took her under my wing. I gave her some good pointers. I was looking forward to the wedding. It came as a surprise for me when we were pulled out there, even more when I was told, yeah, we're going to section her off. But I knew Kelsey. I liked Kelsey. Kelsey was not a daughter to me, but a woman that, now it's snowing, a woman that I had a special bond with. So did we maybe go a little lax? Yes. She was one of us. She was a member of the force. So when we went in around the house, I had no idea that she would have a firearm, and I had no idea she would ever pull a firearm on me. And when we are upstairs, Justin comes in. There is some commotion going on downstairs, and I observed Kelsey. She's sitting in the middle of the room, packing a bag, standing up with the bag, and moves towards the door. And I have to admit, I look away for a brief second because I'm worried what happens downstairs because it's getting a little loud. So I'm oriented, going a little bit down the stairs because, again, I trust Kelsey. I don't believe this story that she is that dangerous. And I come up again, and I notice she's standing by the window with her back turned and her arm up. And when she hears me, she kind of turns around, and I see she has a pistol in her hand. She then goes and starts sliding it back, and I'm yelling, "Don't do it, Kelsey," while I'm pulling my own firearm. In this second, I'm just afraid that I was told she's going to do something really bad. We have the commotion downstairs. So I pointed at her and said, "Kelsey, don't do it." She extends her arm, and that's when I shoot. That story would have been totally fine. So that would have been a good shooting.
Yes.
And it would have been an understandable shooting, and it would have been an understandable human nature. Okay, you trust this woman, you go downstairs.
Yeah.
There's no Narnia. There's no coloring between the lines. There's no need for any of it.
No, and the irony is that he looks more sympathetic if they played it that way instead of trying to make him look like Super Trooper. Now he looks pathetic. Now he looks like they have let him, he's kind of the short bus SWAT person, like he's there for, I don't know, a mascot reason.
I don't know, with the whack job comment, it would be hard for him to sound that caring. That comes from a highly biased subject who she watches cry for on the internet. She's clearly just in it for the drama. And yeah, he said, yeah, that was kind of whack. That's what he said to her. She must have misunderstood it. Instead of saying, I don't know my neighbor.
Well, he could also say, you know what? She was my friend and she betrayed me. She, as a cop, should know just how hard it is to pull that trigger, and she made me have to pull it. You know, he could be reasonably upset that she knew that he was dealing with PTSD, and now he's got another, you know, shooting that he has to deal with.
Yeah. I don't know if this is what happened, but this is the story I would have told if I was there. Thank you. Well, it's just, what's special, Ed? What does sentence mean for us dummies? That you get a sentence against you, it means you're convicted. But you will be sentenced. I believe they'll be back at 2:00 today. Sorry.
I was going to say thank you, Holly Mack, for the 5 gifted memberships. Those went to Anne Stanek, Mima, Krista, Butter K Bob, and Donald King. So welcome to the Church of Mo. We have dark chocolate, sarcasm, and morning musings.
He was trying to distance himself, but given that neighbor's testimony, it's obvious to me that he was full of crap. Yes, and that's the problem. He, instead of saying, I don't know my neighbor, just say, Maureen, yeah, I talk to her when she's out with her dog. She's kind of, I don't want to say anything bad about her, but we know she's really into these conspiracies. She's been really focused on that Karen Reed case that filled up so much time, because maybe you have a judge who think Judge Canoni is the bee's knees. That would actually work in your favor. Again, you can call her a whack job too. Say, well, yeah, because you know there is something where she talked to Cryford.
Yeah, or you can just say, look, she's always busting my balls, so I gave her the answer that she would probably expect. I figured I'll be the cop she thinks I am. Was it right? No, but she's, you know, her dog always poos on my yard. I'm tired of her. So
yes. What does sections mean? Sorry, couldn't find the spelling. It means that you're put into a psych observation. So section
Yeah,
12 would be an involuntary psychic evaluation. She was put into it with her domestic violence, hasn't been put into trial. That was a mistake of Bradel to bring that up. I think it made the judge kind of pissy. But normally it's a 72 hold maximum. She was out within, I believe, 4 hours. So, and there was no DV conviction, no charges, no nothing. So anytime you go on the twat and you see Krusty Panty sit there and say, well, she's a domestic abuser. He's never been convicted of anything. Krusty Panties have been convicted of a lot of things. But again, it's what they have to run with. I saw Mama Llama, the chief of the foreskins. That's a tribe they have. It's
I'm
it's a
learning all the
Condaho tribe.
things.
Yeah, that's the Condaho. So yeah.
Yeah, they all look like women I wouldn't have fun with. I will let them keep their club and be happy they are staying away from me.
Sorry, I just have
Oh, no,
I have an
it's okay.
Angie coming in because I wrote, I'm sorry, I'm a bit underwhelmed by Bradel. Read the comments. Even if we can read those, Bradel sucks. The turtle is screwed. That's not what I wrote.
I am beginning to wonder if we are all on the same timeline. Again, I don't know what trial the Commonwealth saw with the closing statement they gave. But people that can't read and then read something completely different. See, Baker, you stay on X much longer than I do. I just promote my shows and go out. If I find a funny meme, I'll look at it.
Yeah, well, I like to fight idiots. So when does the trial start? What did I miss? You missed some heinous closing from the Commonwealth where they just spun a yarn that they never provided any evidence for. And I don't think it's wrong to say that I feel Bradel was a little underwhelming. And then you can go with the argument, well, it was a bench trial, blah, blah, blah. Sarah Boone was a bench trial. That's the one we couldn't remember. Sarah Boone was a bench trial.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Wasn't Sarah Boone a bench trial? I think maybe.
I don't think so, but I could
Jesus
be wrong.
Christ.
Baker, I can't remember.
No, but that would have been the easy story. I'd probably just need to find another hobby than stream trials.
No, what he's saying is that the theory that the Commonwealth came up with was not the easiest theory to see or to sell. Again, there are many ways that they could have approached this, and characterizing Noonan as a super trooper was a very odd tactic to take. They could have humanized him, but instead and maybe it was an ego thing. Maybe, Noonan wasn't going to go with the, self-deprecating, humble kind of thing. Because I did find it very interesting that Noonan was all about how he wanted to share his wisdom, but he got incredibly upset about the PTSD, statement. That was the only thing that he really got quite upset with on stand.
Yeah. I don't have any of that. Because he's a super trooper, but he's also a shitty cop.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Again, why is he not on detail right now?
Because he missed a shift, which most likely was induced by Perilax, Peritrax, Peri something. But then he got to work detail and not doing shifts. And again, if there's two completely different stories with the same set of facts, isn't that reasonable doubt? But yeah, the courtroom has been emptied. So, but Mo, I've set up the stream for later. I've set it for 2:00. As I mentioned, time can move. This is
Yes.
Massachusetts. Time is not real to begin with.
No, it is not.
So Judge yesterday said, I think I'll be back by 2, or I'll let a clerk alert you, and we'll do it on Friday. That's what he said yesterday. As I said, because Jemima will always go in and say, well, how does a court work? Is it law? Is it lawful law? Is this maritime court? And I said, didn't you go to law school? Hank Brennan was my instructor at law school. And I say, okay, let me get the coloring book for and the little, the little board with the round holes and the square pegs, and we'll start all over again, and we'll start it by saying, Hank
And
Brennan
Baker
is an
wonders
idiot.
why his mods yell at him all the time. Although I do love, and we have some nice ones. I wouldn't expect this going to tomorrow. I think the
No,
judge
he started writing his verdict yesterday, and he knows what his verdict's going to be. He probably knew what his verdict. He was waiting for Noonan's testimony to see if he was a credible witness.
Yeah,
And-
and that's the thing. I don't think Noonan is credible. He wasn't credible.
Yeah.
And that's Noonan's problem, not anyone else's. I will say it was nice seeing the old guy from Up with his wife out in public.
Well, some of us likes them a little bit older.
Well, yeah, that's when he turns nice and gets a soul. We're just
Can it not be 2 a.m. your time? No. No, but well, it could be 2 a.m. I don't know. Do you both think those cops are intimidating for the judge? Absolutely not.
no, the judge
The ju-
not
the
in
judge
his
said-
courtroom.
Palola's mom, if you ever do jury duty and you do it one time, you probably will feel, I'm having I'm having a Hells Angels president that I have to convict. Oh my God, I'm so scared. When you've been there twice and you sat there, they know the rules. They're not going to do anything. And if any cop was stupid enough to say, hey, you should probably protect the blue, that judge is just going to get, okay, see you in my courtroom tomorrow. You just threatened an officer of the court. That's really stupid. This judge doesn't come off as someone who is going to lay down and cry.
No.
You
And
can intimidate jurors who does it for the first time. I have done it for 16 years. The only time I felt was when I had to walk out of a courtroom after just finding a biker guilty of something, and they all stood on the steps outside of the court, and this guy came straight up to me and he said, "Do you have a lighter?" I said, "Yeah, sure." He gave me, said, "Oh, you want a cigarette for it?" I said, "Oh, thank you." And he said, "Good job in there." Okay. And then I just walked off. Because he knows if he touches me, he's going to be next. It's really, really bad to intimidate or hurt someone who works for the court. Someone who is on drugs. We have 94% here not guilty, which is comparable to Lawyer You Knows, which was 95 not guilty. The problem is always we are really, really smart over here. But most juries are like Sue. They're always wrong. And some judges at bench trials as well.
Yeah, what I thought would be more or less curtailed in this trial was the extraneous stuff. And I think that's what's worrying for me. I think Baker, you and I were looking forward to this because we hate the CV crap. We hate the how did you go to high school? We're like, nope, no, talk about today. And we were excited because I remember you and I talking like, we're going to get through this in 2 days. Like,
Yeah.
holy crap.
And we did. 3 days.
Yeah.
Bingo bango.
Yeah, but we were like, we aren't going to have to hear the CV. And then we got the 27 years of how a force multiplier works. And I was like, Baker, we were lied to.
I don't mean mug. I just have this face. And that's actually, sometimes you have some really hard cases, especially kid cases or sexual cases, where you really want to let your face slip, but you can't do it because you have to be unbiased towards the defendant. So you have to sit there and do this. Because I can't talk in the I can ask Judge a question if I didn't get it or send him a note. He will ask questions. But I'll all my trials, I just try to do this.
Yeah.
Because I
and-
believe that's the most neutral face I can put on.
Yeah. So we will keep you guys informed. I'm going to be working, at my desk, so I will actually be paying attention to the twit-twats like Baker normally does.
Just get Jemima to do it. That's what I do.
Yeah, but Jemima's trying to pull the affidavit on the professional cornhole red rummer.
She's getting a little lazy. That's
Baker, would we get in trouble if we got blue paint and
and did a
That-
reenactment of, okay, I'm jumping behind and getting the gun. Look, my hand is blue. I'm standing up against the door frame. Look, I have blue paint on the.
Well, I was thinking for the cornhole thing, but I think that would be more inappropriate.
Well, oh yeah, that. Back to. I might have partied a bit in the 90s, and we might have had the small people bowling contest at a nightclub.
I broke down this morning when I thought about them handcuffing.
Yeah, are you just tying a string around him, or? Everyone, I've set
I'm a
you all
terrible
up to
person.
redirect to the verdict stream. Put on the
Same.
bell thingy thing, so you'll get notified when we go live again. We will, of course, notify you on the Twit, on the Discords, so you know when there is a verdict, if a verdict comes in. Because I think it'll be at 2:00, so now I jinxed it. It'll be tomorrow, but he said it yesterday. It'll be at 2:00, or I'll tell the bailiff if. So I don't think it'll be before 2.
Yeah,
I need to know what this is out. Anna?
maybe what the cornhole. I did a story this morning. It was an update.
Oh, sorry.
Well, maybe. I'm trying to guess if maybe there was a typo.
Yeah. Well, there was a cornhole champion who was a quadruple amputee. He had no arms, no legs, and he's now being accused of pew-pewing and second-degree pew-pewing. But there's videos on him online because he has a little knob on his elbow that he can operate a firearm with. No, I'm going to end the stream because YouTube doesn't like when you go long. So to make sure that I can make everyone get the notification. You should go watch Over and Most because she covered this morning.
Yes,
Mr.
and
Nothing.
it hasn't gone to trial just yet. He has just been, indicted. I was going to say acquitted, interrogated. No, it's one of those legal words I use. I hate
Yeah.
it when I want to sound smart and I'm like, not the right word. That's not the right word. None of these are the right word, brain.
Work, brain, work.
Yeah.
Explain, brain. If you have money, you can buy more peanuts. Explain Brain. You can exchange money for goods and services. I love that Simpsons episode. Everyone, fingers crossed, knock on wood, 7, 9, 13, as we say in Denmark. I hope we're going to get back, but
Yeah.
my sphincter is a little clenched because of the way he reacted.
Yeah. Dang it, Baker. Why do you keep bringing me to trials that I get emotionally involved in?
Yeah, let's just get a stupid pro se we can laugh at.
Yeah.
Like this guy.
What exhibit are you referring to? I'm going to make this 100, Your Honor. All right, 100.
100.
Because it is 100%.
100%.
correct.
Objection, Your Honor.
Oh my God, Baker. Baker the clairvoyant. Jesus.
That's